So we still got a few more Patreon listener questions to jump into. Been going through the huge stack of them. Thanks again to everyone who is part of the Transformers Slag Patreon and sending in these great questions for discussion. And of course, got to do the pitch. If you are interested in being part of the Transformers Slag Patreon, check the description below or the tagged comment and come join us on the Transformers Slag Patreon. We have all kinds of stuff like a Discord, like rare content from Transformers lore that is part of the Proto-Man archive. You might get some cool stuff in the mail. You might get to ask a listener question, all kinds of great stuff and more. Come check it out. And we have a question here from a long time fan of the podcast and Patreon member TheGreySkull, and he asks, after watching your last stream with Aaron Archer, you talked a little bit about Superlink and how you actually like that series and its toys. Can you talk some more about your favorite figures from that line and why you like it? It was a personal favorite of mine in Japan and does not get enough love. Thanks again and keep up the strong work, TheGreySkull. For context, TheGreySkull, he actually is from Japan, and Superlink is what was known as Energon here in America. And it kind of gets a hot or cold kind of reception from the fandom, and I actually like to attribute it to the fact that 99% of the Transformer fandom here in America watched it in English, which I thought it had a terrible dub, number one. The dub was terrible. No offense to the voice actors involved, most anime dub, there's limitations of how it's done, and even the most talented people like a David Kay or a Gary Chalk are just stuck with what they have to work with. And also the show was edited from its original format, so it wasn't as good as the original. So if you're going to watch Energon, watch the Superlink Japanese equivalent. The subtitles are out there. Or you could join the Patreon, and I'll direct you right to the subtitles, and it'll be easy for you. But the point is that it's actually, it gets a lot of flack, but I've always felt that Superlink, Energon, that 2003, 2004 era of Transformers really was a turning point for the brand in terms of what they wanted to market to. Not just from the Takara side, but Hasbro too. Keep in mind, like, 2003, 2004 was the beginning of Superlink and Binaltech, also known as alternators. And I felt that those two lines embodied what would become classics, Universe 2.0, Generations afterwards. Like, I really felt that those two series really gave birth to that in a lot of ways. And around that time, too, was also, of course, not too long after that 20th anniversary Optimus Prime, the first ever Masterpiece. So that era, that 2003, 2004 era, really was the beginning of that. And when we lean into something like Superlink and Energon, and you look at those toys, so many of those toys, I could look at them and go, if those would have came out as classics toys back in 2006, 2007, 2008, they would have fit right in, especially ones like Rodimus and a few others, that they just would have been those equivalencies. And I feel that, again, that line really was them going, hey, what if we did some G1, really G1-inspired Transformer toys with modern ball joints and engineering, and see how the fans, respond to it, even though this series isn't G1 and it's really its own thing. And it was very good. It was very good. And so he wants me to list some favorite figures of mine. And I know that me and Aaron, we kind of touched on it a little bit during the stream, but for those who didn't catch that, I have like a fond memory of some of those great toys, and I'm just kind of like looking to the right a little bit because I have like my huge display of Superlink and Energon figures. And I mean, I'm just going to go through some quickly here. Like, number one, that Omega Supreme. I love that Omega Supreme. Even the Omega Sentinel repaint that they did afterwards. I mean, it's a headmaster, it's a giant figure, it's a combiner, it does like the half-half combining. That's very similar to that of like Enryu and Kyoryu from Gao Geiger. A lot of cool stuff going on there. Turns into a battleship, turns into this giant crane thing, shoots spring-loaded missiles, combines with Optimus. Just a lot of stuff going on here. Really like that figure a lot. Super underrated. A lot of people don't talk about it, but I love it. And it's been repainted into more Omega Supreme colors throughout the years. It got retooled, so it got. I assume that Hasbro and Takara made their money back from that investment of that big, Christmas product, as they call it. But love it, love it. Great Supreme figure. Another one is the Galvatron repaint of Galvatron, also known as, he was called Galvatron in Superlink. He was called Megatron in the first half of the series. But then when he was repainted, he was called Galvatron, or as in it was called in Japan, Galvatron G. And I love that repaint. Again, the way that I looked at that one is there's my classics, Galvatron back in the day. Way before we ever got the actual Universe 2.0 Generations-esque Galvatron figure, this really was a classics Galvatron back in 2004. So I really dug that a lot, and I loved that figure. It looked really cool. I love the fact that his old Armada alt mode was his weapon that he had on his arm, pretty much. A lot of cool stuff going on there. And hey, a jet protagonist villain, always kind of cool. Really adds to that Decepticon flight kind of thing. I dig it. Another one is, again, Scorponok. We talked about it on the stream, me and Aaron Archer, also known as Megazarek and Superlink. Again, one of those figures that was just greatly engineered, a lot of cool stuff going on, and if it would have been released in Classics as its own thing, it would have just worked. And I mean, it's a credit to it because it ended up getting a Black Zarek repaint in Cybertron. It ended up getting the G1 Scorponok treatment with Scorponok head with Bakon. What a great mold. What a great mold. Pick up any version you can. You won't be disappointed. A lot of cool stuff going on. So unique for its time, and something that today I almost feel like it wouldn't even fit in the budget of an Ultra class today. That it would have to be released as a leader class today because of how much hard plastic and good quality build is going on there. Here's one that you're probably all expecting, Rodimus, obviously, or known as Rodimus Convoy and Superlink. Again, that to me, that was Classics Rodimus before there was a Classics Rodimus figure. It just is. It's the head sculpt, the fact that it turns into a truck. I love what I used to do with that figure. What I loved also is if you have the character of Doomlock. Doomlock was one of the dinosaur Terracons. He came with an orange clear plastic sword, and I used to pair that off with Rodimus because it also brought that universal 3mm peg among all the characters. Again, another thing that was unique to Energon and kind of moved forward afterwards to it. I would give that sword to Rodimus. It looked so good. Love that figure. Love that figure. I have the lucky draws of those, both versions, the silver, the gold. I have the black repaint. I have the Superlink version. I have the Armada version. Excuse me, not the Armada, the Energon version. I have the prototype, which has different colors of it. It had more gold instead of the oranges in certain areas. I love that figure. Love it to death. Every single version of it. The BotCon versions, all the repaints. Love that mold. That was again, to me, that was the return of Rodimus officially for the first time after years of absence. So that was a really cool one. Also Dive Bomb. This is another sleeper hit. Dive Bomb, which was the Hawk Terracon. What a great sculpt. What a great mold. I love that when you move the wings, there's this internal clear plastic kind of feather pattern kind of going on. Love what's going on there. One of those, again, really cool figure. And man, if you're a completist, there's 3 different variants of him mint on card. With spiked weapons, non-spiked weapons, 2 handles, 2 no handles with spikes. He's also one of those guys that tons of different variants of him and repaints and stuff. Great one. Then, of course, Kicker. I don't care what anyone says. I like Kicker. I like how he was depicted in Superlink. Obviously, people's hate for Kicker comes from Brad Sway, again, the dub, and his terrible, version of him. But Kicker was kind of a cool character, and it showed what, this goes back to what I was saying at the beginning, 2003, 2004, here's Hasbro and Takara trying to aim at an older audience, go for that nostalgia, that classics kind of look. And the protagonist is someone that's not a 10-year-old kid or a 10-year-old little girl. It's legitimately a late teens teenager in a relationship. And Kicker was one of those cool characters where it showed that Superlink and Energon, especially in Japan, was trying to go for that Gundam audience, not so much that preschool audience that the previous series have been trying to do. So I dig Kicker. And while his Takara versions of his toys are very fragile, the Hasbro one that comes with the oversized high wire is not fragile. And it's a great figure. I like it. Obviously, it's not as show accurate, but it's a cool little G.I. Joe kind of figure. And even has an O-ring, which so he'll suffer from the same O-ring problems. And this is kind of an issue where if that O-ring does bust, you have to fix it. And you can't really fix it properly because the screw is under his Energon chip, so you have to move the Energon. It's a little bit of a headache. It could be done. I've seen people do it. But just keep that in mind. Buy some O-rings from your hardware store if ever you bust your Hasbro Kicker. But I love that Kicker figure. I think it's really cool. I love that it comes with an oversized Minicon, which we've yet to really ever have at that point officially. So an oversized high wire that's the size of a deluxe figure. Love everything that's going on there. Great figure. And I'm going to go to one non-show character figure, and it's probably one of the best, if not the best mold to come out of that whole line, is that of Shark Terracon, which was this aircraft carrier shark battleship hybrid deluxe figure that was just such an incredible mold, so much detail on it, little articulated turrets on it. I mean, if this toy would have came out today, none of that stuff would have been on the deluxe figure. So much value, so much great stuff, and it got repainted like crazy afterwards because of how great it was. Got a Skybite repaint, it got an Army Builder repaint with the traditional Shark Terracons, both of those obviously from Bakon. It got the, I guess I like to call it the Arc repaint from the United line. A lot of good stuff going on there. What a great one. Another great one again. But definitely check him out if you could find him. A lot. You know what's the beautiful thing with a lot of these Energon toys? No one wants them. They're all incredible, so you could get them cheap. And they're spectacular. So definitely hunt down. And there's so many more, but those are like my top ones. Those are the ones that I, covet. Obviously, you can't knock, the repaint, Energon Starscream or Shadow Starscream or Night Scream, whatever they called him in Superlink, which pretty much was the first kind of classics kind of Starscream. Here's Starscream's mold. Let's give him his G1 colors. And he's a really G1 looking Starscream. There's just so many great stuff going on here. I just keep looking at it like there's, so much good stuff. Even like, that Tidal Wave repaint in clear green, even though it's an Armada mold. But yeah, either way, I think that's it. There's so many other good ones. Even that Battle Ravage. So many of them are good. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, DeGreySkull. A lot of really good stuff. A lot of really, really good figures. So once again, if you are interested in asking a question on the Patreon or just want to be part of the Patreon to support the podcast and let me know that we're doing cool stuff, don't worry, you still get something out of it. Still get to join the Discord. Still get to enjoy all the stuff from the archives and all the cool back catalog and all the cool rare kind of Transformers lore that you just can't find on the internet today unless you go into the trenches. All of that stuff and more. Come join the Patreon, patreon.com/Protoman. You get to be part of the scroll that I put at the end of every segment here. So come check us out, come join us, and enjoy the love of Transformers.